Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Sheriff Broadcast. Here today, the usual host is indisposed, but my name is Seth Prasad, and I'll be filling in. Today, we have a world-renowned financial analyst, Mr. Joel Bagwandin here today, and a very important individual and a colleague who is very well versed in the current economic situation here in Guyana and the developments, the massive developments that are taking place. So Joel, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Seth, thank you for having me. Let me just say that I'm nowhere close to being any sort of renowned anything. I'm not renowned in anything. I don't like to give myself self-conferred titles. I prefer to live with the title of financial analyst. I won't go other minus that. Before we get into today's discussion, I want to briefly introduce you. This is your first podcast, if I'm not mistaken. So Seth Prasad is a very, very brilliant, very hardworking young man whom I happen to have a working engagement with when he was at Co-Invest. And he's now into private consulting, and we've worked on a few projects together. In fact, we work together on private consulting on several projects. So just wanted to give that brief introduction on you and welcome to this frontline kind of thing. I think the exposure would be good for you, and as you build your capacity and a diverse skill set to become a rounded professional.
Thanks.
Now, having said that, today I want us to discuss the accomplishments of the PPPC government. I would like to focus on maybe one area at a time, one thematic area at a time.
Sure.
And I would like to look at the labor market. As you would recall, when they launched their manifesto in 2020,
yes,
one of the key highlight was that they were targeting the creation of 50,000 jobs.
Right.
And when that announcement was made, critics of the PPPC were, the usual suspects, questioned whether that is achievable. So before I get into my analysis of that, I'd like to invite you to make a few comments on that era, give your perspective, which would be fresh, and then I'll offer my perspective on that.
Absolutely. Yes, Joel. So, in the last 50,000 jobs to be created in 5 years is definitely ambitious. I believe that the People's Progressive Party Civic has definitely accomplished that. And not only with the quantity of jobs, but the quality as well, because we're seeing more positions opening, in like STEM, engineering, as the oil and gas sector continues to grow, and that's just the beginning. As well as through not only the jobs but the education side of things. So you're looking at the scholarships, the scholarships that have been awarded. I think I was looking at a figure. I think almost 30,000 Guyanese have taken advantage of these scholarships. These international universities. To take on these new exciting roles to take on the challenge that Guyana, is currently on the journey. So I think from that perspective, it's definitely been an accomplishment so far, and more to come, because this is just the beginning.
Yeah. The reality is such that the government has exceeded that target. In fact, 50,000 was a conservative estimate. If we do a simplistic analysis, one policy alone in the 2020 manifesto, a single policy targeting the distribution of 50,000 house lots. Well, not just distribution, the construction of 50,000 new homes, not just distribution of house lots. And when you think of what that entails, it entails massive investment in the expansion of existing housing schemes.
Right.
It entailed the regularization of unregularized areas, squatting areas, and so on. And
Right.
there were tens of such places that were regularized. It entailed relocation of persons living in those type of area, unregularized area.
Right.
And it entailed more so, to a larger extent, the development of new housing schemes. Now, 50,000 new homes in 5 years, that's 10,000 new homes to be constructed per annum. Now, if you're constructing 10,000 homes per annum, and each home requires a minimum of 5 workers per home,
Right.
that alone is 50,000.
Right.
That alone is 50,000, and that's only one policy.
Mm-hmm.
Only one policy, one area, one sector. And so when you look comprehensively resuscitating Gaisuku, which was a commitment,
Right.
the APNU FC would have closed several sugar estates, putting over 7,000 persons on the breadline. Indirectly, about 40,000 persons were affected, or households were affected indirectly.
Right.
The 2,000 Amerindian workers in those villages who they fired, who were restored, and that number increased over the years.
Mm-hmm.
The restoration and rebuilding of the mining sector, the construction sector, private development, and all this, the service industry. The service industry has taken off to a large extent. The agriculture, every single sector, job creation has been multiplied over the
Absolutely.
years. So that 50,000 number has certainly, without a doubt, by doing just a simplistic analysis, has been exceeded.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk about the temporary,
Right.
the part-time jobs
Mm-hmm.
in those remote areas, targeting those remote areas particularly where job opportunities are limited.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a way in which to put persons to earn while doing something productive, while they could do other things, while simultaneously the government is creating the environment and attracting the investment in those regions that
Yes.
will in turn create long-term jobs. So there will come a time in the medium to long term, there will come a time when those, you wouldn't have to have those part-time jobs, because
Right.
take region 5 and 6 for example. Look at what is happening in Berbice.
Right.
The people in Berbice complained for many years. That is a region that was predominantly driven by the sugar industry,
Right.
and the closure of that estate pretty much ran that region into depression.
Mhm.
You had loss of jobs, you had, nothing was happening there. So
Right.
you need investment, and look at what is
Absolutely.
happening there now with the construction of the hospitals, the
Massive.
stadium, the expansion of the road network,
Massive.
and other private investments there. Then you have the bridges going to come,
Right.
bridging the two countries. And so the same could be said for other regions, say such as region 10 for instance. And then
Yes.
on the Essequibo coast, which is predominantly driven by farming, rice farming, you have to get investments in those regions, new investments, to create new jobs. And a lot of work, the government has put in a lot of work in those areas to create sustainable
Yes.
jobs, sustainable investments,
Yes.
create environment to attract sustainable investment that would be lucrative, and in turn job creation, sustainable jobs.
Mhm.
Now, so that's very difficult to dispute. It's very difficult to dispute that we have not achieved 50,000. You're gonna have the critiques will come to say, you're gonna have maybe an Elson Low come and say, well, there is no statistics to show. Where is the Bureau of Statistics report? Where is the official study? They want study into everything.
Right.
But sometimes you don't have to get a report published by the Bureau of Stats. Just drive around the country,
Right.
count how many construction you see, count how many how many laborers you see there, how many
Right.
persons, and you do there's something called extrapolation.
Can't deny the development.
Right.
I cannot deny it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other important point I want to make on this topic is that the labor market has evolved over the years. It has evolved. Let me give you a brief overview of what it was of what the labor market was 15 years ago. 15 years ago, you had lack of opportunities, lack of job opportunities, because you had a lack of investment, lack of confidence in the economy. You had an environment 15, 20 years ago, you had an environment that was characterized as, at some point, political instability. We had politically motivated violence and crime. If we go way back into the 90s, there was a lot of events, adverse events, that drove away our people,
Right.
that led to a mass migration of our people. And so for decades we've suffered, this brain drain syndrome. And the result of that, coming to the point when we discovered oil, according to the labor force survey, labor force report, the Bureau of Statistics report, less than 5% of the labor market population possess a tertiary level education.
Right.
That means you had more than 95% of the labor market population that did not have or do not have a tertiary level education. So how do we now reverse that
Right.
ratio? To reverse that ratio, we want to attract our diaspora,
Right.
diasporans. We want our people to come back. That may be difficult because, those people, a lot of those people left this country for many, many years. They got comfortable living a certain way of life in a first world country. I mean, some are coming back, but not in the number that is really required as we would like. People are coming back, people are remigrating home, people are coming home
Yes.
to do all different invests, coming back to work.
Right.
It's happening, but not to the desired extent that is required.
Understood.
So that's one. Two, we have to educate our population.
Right.
And to do that, we have to make education accessible and affordable. And so that's why we had the Gold Scholarship, whereby whether you live in Essequibo, on the Essequibo coast, or Linden, or Berbice, or wherever, you don't have to come to Georgetown to go to the University of Guyana, to go on campus, to sit in a classroom, to have access to tertiary education. You can access tertiary education, credible, accredited, recognized, high quality education from the comfort of your home once you have access to the internet. Right. So that is the whole purpose of the Gold Scholarship online, to expand the accessibility of education. And then that was complemented by the free university education to make it now not just accessible but affordable, removing the financial barriers, removing the financial hurdles, removing hurdles of accessibility. And so now we're maybe producing maybe 10,000, let's say 7,000 graduates a year.
Right.
We have to triple that number a year, even though we have the scholarship, we have free university, we still have to triple that number.
Right.
To be able to meet the demands of the market and the new economy that we are building and creating.
Absolutely.
So the challenges of the labor market today is fundamentally different from what it was 15 years ago. 15 years ago, you had a lack of opportunities.
Yes.
Today, there is no lack thereof. You don't have a lack of opportunities. You now have an abundance of opportunities.
Yes.
The problem we now have is that we have a labor market population that less than 5% possess a tertiary education. So this term that we often use, or people often use in the private sector and some policymakers, that we have a labor shortage. We really don't have a labor shortage. We have a skills deficit. There's a difference. There's a big difference.
Yes.
We don't have a shortage of people. We have enough people. We have a skills deficit. The small percentage, the 5% that have high level education, there's a skills mismatch. So they now need to retool. They need to learn, develop new skills, because the skills that they have outdated.
Yes.
The market is not asking for that. So there's a skills deficit, and there's a skills mismatch. Then the third problem is that we have the lowest labor market participation in the world. The lowest labor market participation in the world.
Wow.
The country with the highest labor market participation is China, about 70%. Our labor market participation was 49%.
Wow.
40 based on the last report. Now based on my estimate from looking at the historical data, which is just a few years old, and what has taken place, it still has not gone past 55%.
I see.
It has not gone past, so it's still in that 50% range, which is among the lowest in the world. Now that's a big problem. It means we have to get more of our people to work.
Yes.
We have to get more of our people to work.
Absolutely.
So half of them, and this is why the government was targeting women, to get women to come out.
Yes.
Because half of the labor market, they're women who are not working, but they could work.
Exactly.
So there's a direct target, the policy trying to get more women to participate in the labor market. So the challenges of the labor market today, I've gone through what the government is doing in terms of policy to confront those challenges, to meet the needs of the labor market. And I've gone through historically how the labor market has evolved in terms of the challenges in the labor market. It is very different today.
Right.
It is very different today.
Well, of course. I mean, probably one last point, Joel. You mentioned the brain drain, but we're in a time now where it's brain gain, right? Because we're enhancing the quality of education significantly for all Guyanese, and that's not just from the bachelor's. You have the master's and even PhD as well. So we're creating that playing field, that conducive environment for all Guyanese to take advantage of these opportunities so that they can improve their livelihood. And live that quality of life, you mentioned that the diaspora live in North America. We want to create that here in Guyana. So we'd like to ask the viewers, their opinions and views, on these progressive policies that the current administration is implementing for all of us. We encourage, all of the young, not just young, but all Guyanese of all ages to further their studies and to take advantage of what's going on. The amazing things that are going on here in Guyana, because it's just this is just the start. We have a long way to go, and we want all of our fellow citizens to enjoy the benefits as well. Thank you guys for watching, and we'd like to thank Mr. Joel Bagwandin for taking the time to be here with us. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And it's great to hear your insights as always. Catch you guys on the next episode.